Hello debutantes, today I am here for the happily married tag. I was tagged by Gillian of Gillian at Home, and I thought this was a really great tag. You know, my daughter's only been married just shy of 2 years, and I did learn something from what she had to say when she answered this tag, and I've been married almost 26 years. So, you know, maybe I have some advice, maybe I don't, but I really enjoy hearing other people's stories. So I am going to tag everyone who watches my video because I'm interested in hearing your story. So I don't have particular people I'm tagging anyone and everyone who watches this video. So let's get started with the questions. The first set are pre-hubby questions. I have them on my iPad. Did you date much before you met your husband? Well, I always had a boyfriend. I met my husband in junior high, so dating, I mean, I wasn't allowed to date till I was 16. I met him when I was much younger than 16, but I always had a boyfriend, and so I did have 2 kind of serious relationships before we started dating. So I would say I didn't date much, but as a young high school and junior high girl, I did have boyfriends. Did online dating exist when you were dating? Would you have used it if it was? Online dating did not exist when I was dating, and I'm not sure if I would have used it. I do know people who have had success with online dating, but I don't know if that's something I would really be comfortable with. So I'm not sure if I would use it now or not. Thank God I don't have to. Where do you think are the best places to meet a great guy? I think any place is a great place to meet a great guy if you have an open mind and an open heart and you kind of know what you're looking for, but not a checklist. Like, he has to have brown hair, he has to make over $100,000 a year. You know, I think that you kind of know what you're searching for, and I think if you're open, you can meet a great guy anywhere. You know, it's just a matter of looking, but not hunting, shall we say. What qualities would you tell single women to look for in a man? Integrity and honesty, I think, are very important. A man with a heart after God's heart to me is a great quality. I think if a man is searching for God, then he will love you like God loves the church, is my opinion. What dating advice have or will you give your daughter? Well, I gave my daughter lots of dating advice. Some she took, most she did not. I was trying to, you know, give her a heads up about some of the mistakes that I had made that I really wish that she would not have repeated. And she repeated quite a few of my mistakes, but by mistakes you learn. And a lot of the things that made me stronger, that came from mistakes, made her stronger as well. You learn from your mistakes. And my dad used to say, if you gotta be dumb, you gotta be tough. And I was really tough, so I made quite a few mistakes, but that's the way it goes. So anyone who has, you know, little girls or whatever, I would say pray. Little girls or little boys, it doesn't matter. I would start praying for their future spouse now. Pray for their well-being, pray for their character, pray for those qualities that you think are important in a spouse for your child, and I think that's important. Okay, so here are the early days. How did you meet your husband, and how old were you? I met my husband in junior high. I think I was in the 8th grade, which I was about 12. I was always a year younger than everybody in my grade. He actually lived a house down from my very best friend, and we kind of hung out kind of in the same circles, but not really. You know, on the weekends we'd all hang out and talk, you know, sit outside, and that's where I really met him. I was 12 years old and I was in junior high. Did you play hard to get? Yes and no. I always liked him. I think we always kind of had a crush on each other. You know, if we were out sitting on the back of a car talking, we'd always have our arms around each other, holding hands. But you know, it was just kid stuff, nothing major. Well, in the 10th grade, I decided he needed to be mine. I decided. And we had gone to a party and we were together and we kissed and, you know, nothing major. But when, of course, I asked my best friend, you know, go find out what's going on, what does he think? He said something that I did not think was very nice. He swears he didn't say it, but I believe my friend said the truth. So for a solid year, I did not speak to him. And now I had to drive by his house all the time because my friend lived right there. And when I got my Camaro for my 16th birthday, I would drive by and I'd put my nose up in the air and I just wouldn't talk to him because I was mad at him. But prior to that whole experience, when we were young and just starting to date, he would always be working on his car and hanging out, and I would come home from the beach and walk down and say, "Hey Tony, what are you doing? Are you having a good time?" You know, so I wouldn't say that I played super hard to get, but I didn't play super easy to get either. Okay, the next question. Did you know he was the one right away? Did he know you were the one? Well, because we were so young when we first met, I don't think we were even thinking that, you know, about marriage and all of that stuff. But I have to say, when we finally decided to get together, I was 16, and he was 17. We knew pretty quickly. I would say probably within a month. Sorry about the traffic noise. It's really overcast and there's no light in my house, so I had to come outside. So after we got together, we started dating, and you know, we knew pretty much within a month that this was for the long haul. I think he knew that and I knew that, and so, you know, pretty quickly after we started dating. What qualities did your husband love about you when you were first dating? Probably because I was such an extrovert and he's more of an introvert. I mean, he only talks if he needs to talk. And I was just, you know, full of life and wanted to do everything and be everywhere, and, you know, anything that he wanted to do, wanted to go mudding, wanted to go out in the woods, you know, I was up for pretty much. I have to say, he was much more outdoorsy than I was when we started dating. I was more of the long acrylic fingernails, you know, the makeup done, hair done. I never had big 80s hair, thank you. But I was more of that, like, prima donna girl, and he was more of the you know, working on cars, going out in the woods type of guy. So I think that's what he liked, that I was just willing to do the things that he liked, I guess. I don't know. I would ask him. He was supposed to do this tag with me, but he has got the purging bug, and now he is purging his workshop. So trying to get him to sit still is like trying to nail Jello to the wall. So I decided if I ever wanted to get this tag done, I better just do it myself. Did you have a timeline for marriage? As soon as possible, I think, was our timeline for marriage. I did get engaged at 17. I was a senior in high school. It was not exactly the best news for our families. We were too young, we're making a mistake. So we had agreed that we would not get married until we could buy a home, and which we did 2 months after my 18th birthday. So we were pretty anxious to get married and start off on our own. Did you have to nudge your husband towards marriage? I don't think so. I mean, we talked about it. I mean, we talked about everything. We used to take long drives down in South Beach, Miami, before it was really South Beach, and we would just talk about everything, what our expectations were. Where do you see us in 5 years? Where do you see us in 10 years? How many kids do you want to have? I did let him know pretty early on that my intention was to be a stay-at-home wife and a mother, and if he didn't see himself being married to someone like that, then we really needed to not be together, because that was kind of a deal breaker for me. It was really important that I be home, but he agreed, and that's where his heart was, so that's how it worked out. How did your parents influence the kind of marriage you wanted? My parents were 60s, 70s generation, so, you know, it was different than what my husband and I have now. I know my mom watches these videos, so I'm going to kind of skip over that question. You know, the 70s were a tumultuous time, and that's all I'm going to say. Weddings and marriage. What did you love most about your wedding? What I love most about my wedding is that it happened, and the groom. Like I said, I was very young, and I was just happy to be married. I know that the people around us, you know, loved us, but it was, I would have to say, we didn't get a whole lot of support. There wasn't a lot of, you know, this is great, this is a wonderful thing. It was more like, well, we'll just wait, you know, we'll give it 2 years and see what happens. So I never really felt super supported by anyone, really. My brother said terrible things, people I knew said terrible things, and some of those things that people say, you can't ever erase from your mind. And I think it made my husband and I stronger as a couple, because we were like, fine, you know, we will do everything ourselves. That's just the way it's going to be. If you're not happy for us, then that's kind of your problem, not ours. So that was kind of rough, but 26 years later, we're still going strong. What elements of your wedding didn't matter as much as you thought they would? everything didn't matter as much as I thought they would, because I mean, my wedding was beautiful. It was wonderful. People had a great time. I would just say that it was everybody else's wedding and not really mine. The things that I thought were going to be important, like bridesmaids' dresses and the type of service we had, were always superseded. I didn't want a full-length, hour-long Catholic Mass, but oh no, both my mother and his mother insisted that we have the big Catholic Mass. It was just certain things that I just said, you know, what's important is the marriage, not necessarily the wedding, and that's just how it worked out. Is the first year of marriage really the hardest? Yes. And I told Maureen the first year is the hardest. And I remember, like, soon after our first anniversary, just thinking, wow, this is so much easier. It just felt like a weight had been lifted off me. And I still remember that day, you know, just that felt like, wow. And I think, you know, I left the home I had grew up in. Tony pretty much left the home he had grew up in. You know, we started living together, you know, sleeping with someone in the same bed, getting used to their food likes, their dislikes. My poor husband ate cheese like crazy. I put cheese on everything, and he will tell you that that was not the best part of being married to me. Once we got our footing and we kind of knew the cheese was not on everything, but those are the things, just getting to know each other, getting to know the rhythms, getting to know, you know, their moods. You know, now when my husband wakes up, I can look at on his face and know, did he sleep, did he not sleep, what kind of mood he is in for the day. And when you're first married, you're learning all of that. So that's why I think it's really the hardest. What advice do you give newlywed couples? I want to give this advice to the wives. A lot of women feel like, well, we're married and we're gonna wear sweatpants around the house and put our hair up in a nappy bun and not wear makeup. And don't do that. Don't do that. Men are very visual. They like to see you look nice. I'm not saying, you know, to put a full face of, you know, runway makeup on, but, you know, always try to look nice. If your husband's at home, try to look nice. He is the most important person in your world, and you have kids, but your kids will grow up and you two will be alone again. And if you haven't worked on that relationship and put him as a priority and made sure that his needs are met, and I'm not talking just sexual needs, I'm talking about, you know, cooking or whatever is important to him. Everyone shows love a different way. I like big gestures. I would buy balloons and flowers, but that's not how my husband shows love. My husband washes dishes when he knows I'm tired. My husband will run up to the grocery store and pick something up if I forgot something. He is a more practical person, how he shows love, and I am much more flamboyant in the way. And again, when you have children, women seem to think, well, I'm a mommy now. You know, that's my most important. Well, you know what? Your husband has a mother, and he doesn't need another one. He needs a wife, he needs a lover, and he needs someone that is going to fill that role. If he wants someone to tell him what to do or be a mommy, he'll go home and his mom will tell him what to do. He most certainly does not need that from you. You are his wife, you are his support. A man's ego is as important to him as your self-esteem is to you. So when he tells you you're beautiful and all those things, which my husband tells me constantly, it's important to let him know, you know, the things that are important to him. You're a great provider, you're a wonderful father, you know, I love you more than anyone else. Those are important, and I think as young mothers, you really seem to forget that, and it's just super important to, I used to tell my kids all the time, say, Mommy, who do you love best? And I'd say, I love Daddy best, because Daddy is the one who's going to be with me when I'm 90 years old and I've forgotten his name. So, you know, that's important. If you're religious, how has your faith influenced your marriage? My husband and I wouldn't say are religious. We have a very strong faith. We don't always make it to church, but we do pray together. We pray for our family. We will always say, you know, well, is this God's timing? Is this God's plan? We will go to God in prayer when we're making a big decision. So our faith has always been important to us. We both were raised Catholic, but as we had children, we realized the Catholic faith did not really have what we were looking for, and I did some research on the Catholic faith, and not that I'm saying anything bad about Catholics, I'm not. It's just not where we felt was the best place for us and our family. We really believe in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. We both believe that He is our Savior, and that's important. We don't, we're not, my brother calls us the Christian Coalition all the time, which we are not. We are very real, down to earth, but our faith is extremely important to both of us, and we tend to lean on that in very difficult times. So I think that's all the questions. I hope this was helpful. I hope I gave you some good advice. Please, again, I tag everybody who's watching this video. I would love to hear your marriage and your wedding stories. So if you have not subscribed, please do. Please comment, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.